Let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Control Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Kenan, and thank you for joining us for today's episode. You might see a little clue on the screen if you're watching us what today's episode might be about. But today we are talking, we're going to be reviewing Halloween Ends. But obviously, as a Marcus, it's the end, potentially, of this franchise as kind of we know it in its current form. I'm sure he'll be back. We are going to rank the Halloween movies in terms of worst to best, basically. It's 13 movies, so it's going to be quite the challenge. So joining me for today's podcast, we have our regulars, Neil and Sacha. How you doing?
It was me all along.
Put it back on. I was waiting to see if you were going to go mute the whole podcast. I was like, this isn't going to work if he stays in character. Right. Okay. We'll break into two parts. We're just going to talk a little bit about Halloween Ends, give our kind of reviews and thoughts on that. And then we're going to go in and sort of rank the Halloween movies. So first of all, obviously this is kind of, you've got different timelines with Halloween. All right. So this kind of Halloween timeline is you've got Halloween, the original 1978. Then you've got Halloween 2018. Then you got Halloween Kills, which was 2021. And then the final part, which was Halloween Ends, which was this month. So I need to be very careful here because I put my review out onto Twitter about Halloween Ends, and it did not go very well. What I thought was a funny tweet, people took big offense to it. So what I said in my tweet was, if you see a positive review about this movie, or if you see anyone who says they like this movie or see a positive review about this movie, they're either lying or they got paid. So it was supposed to be tongue-in-cheek because I was like, I personally can't believe anyone would find this movie entertaining. Oh my God, did I got ripped apart? I mean, I thought DC, Marvel, and Star Wars fans were toxic and abusive. That is not a patch on horror movies. Oh my days. The amount of texts and replies, direct messages and stuff I got about it. Some people saying, look at this guy, conspiracy theorist. Look at him. They're retweeting it, saying this guy believes in fake reviews. You don't want to listen to this guy. And it's like, obviously, some people didn't get the joke, but a tweet can be taken out of context. You don't see any of my other stuff that I've written. Fair enough. I had to go and apologize and try to clarify. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe people actually get paid for reviews. But it just got so out of hand. I had to delete the tweet, and because it didn't matter how many times I retweeted or replied, everyone just sees that one tweet, retweets it and makes all these comments. But oh my days, the abuse.
You should have sucked it up and been like, listen, I said what I said. #SMD.
Part of me did, and that's why I didn't want to delete the tweet at first, because it's like, no, look, if you've read it that way, then you've read it that way. But I said what I said, and that's fine. I've explained myself. But because of the amount of messages I was getting, I was like, nah. Now, some people, when I explained it was a joke, they were like, okay, fair enough. But I've seen so many people talk this way about the franchise. They're so protective over this franchise. I just couldn't believe it. And because so much of my feed was about Halloween, I get loads of stuff on my feed now from people and Halloween when they hashtag it and stuff like that. There's a lot of love for this movie. And fair play to them. If they enjoyed this movie, fair play to them. A lot of people saying they liked it better than Kills. I personally don't understand this, but hey, we're going to go through it now. We'll do some breakdowns. But yeah, I will say straight off the bat, I don't like Halloween Ends. I did say it was the worst movie of the year. However, straight after watching that, I watched The Monsters by Rob Zombie. So I actually sent an apology tweet out saying, I'm sorry, Halloween Ends, you are the worst movie. And actually, their score has to go up slightly because The Monsters was so bad, I had to give a lower score. So I was just like, yeah, I apologize. Obviously, no one sees that tweet where me apologizing that I didn't think it was the worst movie. But hey, for me, it was not a good movie. There was what they did with the character and the way they decided to do their story threads in this film didn't make sense to me. It was a strange way to end it and build the character up to that grand finale. But hey, we'll go into it. So, yeah, I wasn't a fan. I think I gave it a 1 out of 10, but I think I may have increased it to a 2. But hey, Sacha, what were your initial thoughts on Halloween Ends? Insert tumbleweed.
It wasn't what I expected. It was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard that they had a plan that the trilogy was supposed to take place in one night, I was like, that's cool, because that was one of the cool things about Halloween Kills. It was the same, it was directly after, and that's what kind of made me more intrigued about it, because now the whole town knows about it, and people dies tonight, right? And to be quite honest, like, I did enjoy Halloween Kills to a degree. Yeah, it was bad, but it was like horror movie bad, where it was like bad, but it was good, kind of thing. But I could get on board with that, and it was fine. It was fine, but like this one, they changed away from the original idea and set years later, introduced a brand new guy, and I was like, well, why do I care about this guy? I don't. But, all right, cool. And it just kind of was its thing. It just made no sense narratively, because like we've got a movie without Michael Myers because he's barely in it, and then when he is, it's kind of like, okay, what the f, So yeah, I mean, the standoff at the end, yeah, that was cool between like what's her name, Jamie and Larry. And because they've been building up to that the whole time, but I just feel it would have been better coming off the second one straight after the death of her daughter. I mean, tensions are high.
Tensions raised, yeah,
tensions are raised and stuff, and she's in full like Sarah Connor mode. Which was one of the appealing things about the original one. That she was a badass. She'd been training for this moment her whole life. So to have her settled down back to reality, and I was just like, okay, you guys have totally not stuck to your original plan. I don't know why that was. Maybe it was the studio interference, etc. But now reports are saying that the director wanted to take pot shots at the fan base or something like that. And I'm just like, okay, fair enough. That's one way to go about it. But then, I don't know. It looks like, judging from your tweet earlier on this week, looks like the fan base likes it. So who am I? I'm a casual fan. I'm not someone that's like on Halloween. Like, I'm very new to the franchise. I started watching it probably last year. And, I'm not.
Yeah, because Halloween was one of those things you never got around to seeing, right?
Yeah, I wanted to see what the hype was about, and I knew it was one of Neil's favourite films of all time. I've seen everything else of John Carpenter's. I've just not seen Halloween. I'm a big Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China fan. And The Thing. The Thing is one of my favourite movies ever. So, I just never watched Halloween. And then, I just thought I'd check it out. And I turned around to Neil. I was like, what's the correct order? And he gave me whatnot.
Have you got a pen and paper? Yeah.
Cool. So now I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen enough to go, okay, I've got a grasp.
I understand the character. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen the original. I've seen all the new stuff. I've seen Halloween 2. I've seen Halloween 3. I've seen both Rob Zombie ones, which I think are both very terribly made films. They're horrible. because like, why mess with John Carpenter's? At least this new iteration respected the original with the first movie and made something kick ass and like, cool. And even though the second one, what I didn't think was as good, at least at the end they gave us Jason doing what Jason does, like fucking killing people like left and right, and it was like kind of cool. So I'm expecting, going into this one, I was expecting more of that. I was expecting Jason to go,
Michael.
Yeah. Sorry, Michael, I'm getting confused. Apologies, but that goes to show how green I am with the franchise. So, but
you make a really good point there, because Halloween Ends, for its faults, it did have a progression throughout the story in terms of, the Laurie character, that kind of made sense. You build up this crescendo where he's fighting with a daughter, this, that, and the other. And it really builds and builds and builds. And then now you take it right back and you slow it down again. And you build it with a different character. And it's like, why are you introducing this character now? Yeah. Surely this is something you could have put in the second movie, then lead up to the whole Laurie thing, daughter being killed, and then getting to the big crescendo. Because what happened is she goes through all that. She's in the secure house, traps, everything everywhere. Her daughter gets killed, and then she's like, you know what, sod all that now, I'm just going to go live in a normal house. And it's like, what? Hang on, why has she turned from this recluse to this person who's a member of society now, even though she knows Michael is actually out now, as opposed to not? That didn't make sense to me, and so there's just so much of it just didn't make sense. But, if you'd taken that whole bit out, like I said, if they just tacked on the last 15, 20 minutes of ends onto kills, perfect, done. That could have been it. You didn't even need the extra movie. But it just seemed like they put the wrong things in the wrong place. Now, online, people love this new character. They were saying that it's to show that evil transcends, and this and the other. And it's like, yeah, I get what they were going for. It's not that I don't understand what they were trying to do. But when you're trying to end a trilogy, you don't side your main character to the way that you have done. Because it wasn't it wasn't like a direct passing of the torch. It wasn't like he was trying to kill in his name. There wasn't that relationship there. Just look in someone's eyes, evil recognizes evil, and you're cool. You might as well, they might as well both have the mother named Martha. It just didn't make sense.
Supernatural kind of element.
Yeah, they were. And, but they kind of taken that back, which was better for the series, I thought. So then they reintroduced the supernatural thing, and it's like, no, his performance wasn't bad. But what annoyed me is, like, right at the beginning, it's like, it's Halloween, we're going to have a good time, staring at me in the face in the camera, like, fuck you. I'm just like, don't talk to me directly as the audience and say, we're going to have a good time in this movie. Like, that was just too cheesy for me, and it just went on from there. But, hey, it's... those are the kind of main issues I had with the movie. It just didn't make sense character story-wise. Now, I know some people have come in, the original Halloween, he only has 15 minutes of screen time. The whole movie is centered around different characters in a different way where it builds tension. So the great thing about the Michael Myers character is if he's not on screen, you feel him on screen. You feel the tension, you feel the build. This wasn't that. It's two different things. You have a Halloween film in Halloween 3 where there's no Michael Myers, and it's like they were trying to pay homage to that. It's like, yeah, we don't need him in our movie. Hey, it's just my opinion. Neil, give us your thoughts on Halloween Ends.
Right.
Because bear in mind, listeners, Neil is a fan of the franchise. Yeah, so where Sacha and I, maybe we don't know what we're talking about, Neil knows what he's talking about.
So I must point out, as you both said, I am a huge fan of Halloween. For those watching, yes, I'm wearing a Halloween t-shirt. I was wearing the mask when we started. I have watched every Halloween film. I own 12 of technically I own 11 of the 13 movies because I refuse to own Season of the Witch. And Halloween Ends has not been released, but it's been pre-ordered. So, I own the book about the making of the complete series about Halloween, about Michael Myers. They use the Shape. He's not even Michael Myers. He's called the Shape. I own 2 ice hockey jerseys about Halloween. every single October, I watch at least 2 or 3 Halloween movies. Like Halloween Michael Myers movies.
Not just the theme Halloween, actual Halloween movies, yeah.
And I'm being like, I'll be blunt. This is... like, there are 13 Halloween movies. This, unfortunately, is in my lower half of those movies. I was... At first, when I first watched it and it finished, I was really disappointed. And then, after my disappointment, I had a lot of time to think about it. And having thought about it, it is not as bad as I initially thought it was. Because I think the first thing I said in our podcast group chat, once I'd seen it and I'd thought about it, was this movie is not a bad movie. It's just in the wrong place.
Yes.
This movie should have come directly after Halloween 2018.
Yes.
If this movie came after Halloween 2018, if it was, okay, the fire happens, it's done, then have the time jump. We've had years to go, Laurie, Karen, I forget the name of Karen's daughter, the granddaughter, right? You have the 3 of them. They're all alive. They've gotten over it. But the town remembers Michael. The town remembers what he did, what he was, right? Then you have Halloween Kills, where you see, okay, Michael's not around, but the essence of him, the glooming shadow he has over the town still persists.
Evil exists.
Yeah, evil exists. Where they had it, and you had, okay, anytime something bad happens, people relate it to Michael Myers. Maybe you just say, you know what, they never found the body at the end of Halloween, right? So they burned the place down, but you never found the body. And then you have the whole movie, because, I mean, look, if you don't know by now, this is a spoiler review, right?
Yes.
The entire movie, the first half of Halloween Ends, isn't about Michael Myers. It is literally about a good kid who had a terrible thing happen to him, who's gone bad. Or he hadn't even gone bad, he just had a terrible thing happen to him, and the town is against him. The town treats him like the ugly redheaded stepchild. That I got no problems with. And then you have that, and then you say, if you had the town looking at him saying, "Oh, you trying to be the new Michael Myers, yeah? Oh, you know," and then have everything happen. Don't change a word of dialogue. Just have everything happen exactly the same, and then have it that when he encounters Michael, just have it that he's encountered Michael. We as the audience now know Michael's still alive. Then have everything happen the same. And then just have the end of the movie, the end of the movie where Michael and Laurie have a little showdown. You have that happen, but you have the mother, Karen, you have her get killed by Michael. And then you have Michael get away. Yeah. Laurie's injured. The mom is dead. Granddaughter's there. Michael gets away for whatever reason. And then the next movie, the final movie, what is Halloween Ends, would be the entire movie of Halloween Kills.
She becomes the recluse.
Yeah, not even becomes a recluse. It's the same night. You have it happen the same night.
Okay.
She's in hospital. The town has rallied up to say, okay, Michael's back. He killed this person, this person, this person. Even though you as an audience know it was the other kid, right? You can say the town believes it's Michael. So it's Michael. And then the whole town gears up. That's when you bring back Tommy Doyle. That's when you bring back, the nurse and everyone. And, you bring back the girl who...
Evil dies tonight.
Yeah, Evil dies tonight. The whole town rallies around it. Then they all go off mad to try and kill Michael. Michael wipes out everybody. And then just take the final 20 minutes, which is the in-house showdown between Michael and Laurie. You have that happen again, exactly the way it happens, maybe you alter certain things because Laurie's injured, but you have all of that happen. And then Michael dies at the end. Perfect movie, perfect ending to the franchise, to the character. It's done, it's dusted. We had the final showdown. We lost certain characters, we kept certain characters, because certain things that happened in the film that when mentioned by the director made you know what was coming. When he said, "Oh, Halloween Kills is the Empire Strikes Back," you can see the posters behind me. Anyone who understands that reference knows Empire Strikes Back. That was the first trilogy movie to have a dark middle chapter.
Yeah.
So if this is the Empire Strikes Back, this is where shit goes bad. So I'm sitting there and I was like, somebody ain't gonna make it. Right? And it turned out to be the mom. I was like, well, she's the fitting character to not make it, because the granddaughter is in high school, so she is a reflection of Laurie Strode. In the beginning of Halloween. So we can't lose her, because she has to be the person who gets out of Haddonfield and lives her life. Laurie's the main character, so we know she's going to rock to the end. So who's the weak link? Unfortunately, is the mum, Karen, so she had to go. Right? I'm not going to touch on the fact that because of the character's name is Karen, and the whole thing of people, what people call certain particular types of women, as
in
a
society.
Yeah. So I'm like, and Karen, I was like, you might not make it. But other than that, other than the film being placed at the wrong position, it was a good film, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But because the reality is where it's placed, it was disappointing.
You could literally take Kills and Ends and edit it into two movies. Doesn't have to be one, but you could edit them together and make a decent couple of movies.
Yeah. Exactly that. And you could just edit it together. You literally take everything from the final encounter and then just chop it off and say, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this. It would have worked perfectly. It would have been fine. Everything would have worked smoothly. It's disappointing. It was disappointing. But
maybe we'll sit down and do that, Neil. Maybe we'll sit and edit it, and we'll make our own director's cut of it.
Well, I tell you, if you did that, then you would definitely be able to say SMD to all of them people that gave you hate on Twitter. Because you'd be like, this is what it should have been. And when they watch it, they're like, okay, I see I was wrong.
Okay, maybe that's a project to do over Christmas when I get some time off. Good stuff. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's like I say, I think when it was billed like Kills and Ends are going to be like 2 parts, I think we just believed it was going to be a lot tighter in terms of continuity between the two.
Yes,
like in terms of time and story and everything like that. But it just felt like it was Kills was made by one director and the other one was made by a different director and writer, and it was just released a year later. It didn't seem to have that fluidity that it should have done for the movies. And considering how much I enjoyed 2018, I was surprised at where it went with the next 2 movies. So. But anyway, okay. I mean, so in terms of your, what's that?
I knew that the time jump was coming.
Oh, you knew the time jump was coming, right? Okay, yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But okay, so in terms of a rating, Neil, what would you give Halloween Ends on its own merit as a movie?
A
6. All right, cool. For me, I'm going to stick with my 2. I really didn't like this movie. Maybe it's because I just didn't enjoy Kills either. I'm not the biggest horror Halloween person either, but it's not to say that I don't want to sound pretentious, but I know what a good film means to me, and these films weren't that. I know an average film feels to me. But it's not like I've trashed the first franchise as a whole, because there's some excellent movies in there. And, the first movie, even H2O, I remember really enjoying H2O, and then 2018 and stuff like that. So there's definitely some real peaks in the franchise. But yeah, these last two didn't hit home for me. Considering probably more, I was probably more disappointed because of how much I enjoyed Halloween 2018.
Okay.
To why I feel about these movies, because I was like, oh, look at this potential, this is something I can get behind, because we had the Rob Zombie ones, and it's like, okay, now we're here, let's go, let's finish this franchise. But hey,
I have to say, I've actually looked up my rating. It's 6.5. That's
6.5, right? Okay, cool.
0.5 means some shit.
Yeah, every point counts. Okay. If you are listening, Sacha's just taking a quick departure. I think he's had a visitor. So we are going to crack on. So, Neil, you and I, Sacha, if he comes back, we'll add his in. We're going to try and rank the Halloween movies.
All right.
So we could either take it in turns, which might make the most sense, or I could tell you which my bottom one is and your bottom one and kind of go from there. What do you reckon?
I reckon we take it in turns. You do your...
I'll do mine. Yeah, because otherwise you can go back and forth quite a bit. So now, bear in mind, obviously there's 13 movies, so it's quite a lot. Now, some of these I have seen only once, because that's what I felt I needed to, because again, it's not a franchise I visit a lot. Some of these I saw as and when they came out, others I had to go back and watch, because obviously at the time I was born. So, the first Halloween came out in 1978, the sequel in 1981. I was born in 1981. So obviously I went back and watched these movies. So I think I remember watching Halloween and Halloween 1, because I had them on VHS, and I watched those two. And then in terms of cinema, I saw then H2O in the cinema when they came out. And to me, that is my preferred timeline, 1, 2, and H2O, because I think that for me is the best for the character, because I didn't enjoy Kills and Ends. Because if you do know H2O, Halloween H2O, 20 years later, that is when Laurie and Michael have a showdown and she kills him, she decapitates him. So for me, that was a good ending, because I liked her character and dynamic in that movie and where I went with it. And then after that, you had Halloween Resurrection, which was just like, yeah, don't worry about H2O. This is just something different now, and we're doing something different. But anyway, we'll come on to those. So my worst film that I've got at the bottom of my list is Halloween 2, 2009. Didn't like that movie at all. And the second from bottom in second place is Halloween 2007. I did not like the Rob Zombie ones at all. Yes, they might have had a few nice deaths and stuff like that, but for me, personally, they're just the worst two. I know a lot of people disagree with me, and that's the whole point of this. Then we go to Halloween Resurrection. This was, again, if you haven't seen it, this is Busta Rhymes' Kung Fu Master versus Michael Myers. It was basically the premise of the movie is you've got this you're the Michael Myers house. You have a group of kids, because again, I haven't watched this since the cinema, but you have a group of kids who stay in the house overnight, and it's streamed live on the internet, and they're all wearing cameras. So like some of the footage is from their point of view, and you have cameras around the house, static shots and stuff like that. And it's all that kind of, which for the time I suppose was quite clever in terms of the internet and streaming and all that kind of stuff. It kind of made sense. But again, I think Michael Myers is barely in this movie from what I remember of it. And it was just, for me, it was poor. It was bad from what I remember. That's how it made me feel. Next up, we have Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I don't know what to say about The Curse of Michael Myers. Was that the one with...
It had a pre-fame Paul Rudd in it.
Paul Rudd, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Paul Rudd in it. Yeah, no, that's right. So we have, Curse of Michael Myers. That brought back the Dr. Loomis. I remember that one.
Right, film with Loomis in it.
Right. Okay. Fine. But yeah, for me, it was like, I know, I remember having like this very Scooby-Doo ending, like this man in black kind of weird thing. So yes, we've got Curse. And then we've got Season of the Witch. So at the time, this was called Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and it was kind of supposed to be, they're going to create this like anthology, a little bit like American horror story they have now. That's kind of supposed to, it was going to be. So Michael Myers isn't in this movie. But because basically there's a huge backlash, which is why Halloween 4 was called The Return of Michael Myers, because they have to make it really clear, yeah, he's in this one, come watch this. So Season of the Witch. But for me, it wasn't a bad movie. They tried to do something different. So it's there. Then I've got Revenge of Michael Myers, sitting in the 6th spot. This is, you got Jamie Lloyd character. I'm just referring back to, yeah, exactly. You've got the Cult of Thorn thing still. There's quite a whole kill. There was a high kill count in this one. I thought the killing creativity in this one was pretty good. So yeah, that one wasn't too bad. Then you've got Return of Michael Myers. So that fits at number 7 for me. So I think because of where Season of the Witch was and where they came back with it, it was probably a little bit more true to the originals and kind of stuff. So then we have Halloween Ends. Again, just to be honest, it probably could have been lower down, but actually it probably should very much be lower down. I think I messed this one up. That is definitely going to go down. So that is going to 4. And then Halloween Kills. To me, they're very much kind of on the same par. I kind of get what they were doing, but it just wasn't for me. So that changes that to that to that. So Michael Myers goes to 8. Right. So then we've got in 10th place, we've got Halloween H2O. So again, I remember seeing this in the cinema. Really enjoyed it. It was a coherent story. Kind of made sense to me. So that kind of worked for me. Job done. Then I go to Halloween 2, 1981. It was quite rare for a lot of films to go directly from an original, like the same night kind of thing in terms of that story. Some good kills. I think that's when they introduced the law of the brother-sister thing. So some people like that, some people that don't. But in terms of the storyline from which I watched it, which was, like I say, Halloween 1 to H2O, that worked from that point of view. But I know that I think the director himself, he wasn't too sure if he would have done that again. I think he sort of said, maybe we probably wouldn't have done that. But as a Halloween movie, I really enjoyed it. And then we go to Halloween 2018. Really enjoyed that. I thought it was really fresh. Maybe it felt better because of the Rob Zombie ones. I don't know. But again, it made sense. I'm really confused about the way they name these movies. It's really frustrating because it is a continuation of the original Halloween, but then they call this Halloween. So it would have been nice if they called this something else, which they did with Kills and Ends. So because you've got Halloween, Kills and then Ends. Do you know what I mean? It's strange. But yeah, really good, coherent, some good tension, some good kills. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. And then, top spot has to go to the original. No doubt. Set the standard. It was creepy as hell. You had the first person stuff, which was fantastic. Just the suspense that delivered. It was, some of the kills are brutal, but it's the suspense that film gave you that so many others haven't captured in the same way, where they try and go for the jump scares as opposed to building that tension. And it's just a different level. And that's just number 13 for me. So I'm going to go back and get so coherent. So I've got Halloween 2, 2009, Halloween 2007. Then I got Halloween Resurrection, and I've got Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills. Then I've got Curse of Michael Myers. Then it was Season of the Witch. So Season of the Witch. Then I've got Curse of Michael Myers, Revenge of Michael Myers, The Return of Michael Myers, H2O, Halloween 2, Halloween 2018, and then Halloween 1978.
All right, so Halloween next in the top spot.
Bloody hell. Right. Okay. Neil, take me through your rankings.
Right. Well, I'm going to go, so like you, I'm going from least favorite to most favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in bottom spot and 13th spot, I have Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Okay.
It is not a bad film, but if you were going to have... It's not a bad film, but I think by the time I knew about Season of the Witch, I was already heavily invested in Michael Myers as a character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So watching a film and I'm like, okay, it's a Halloween movie, Michael Myers, and then to see nothing. Because I must point out, like, all right, full disclosure, I was born in 1984. Right? Very long time ago. There were 3 Halloween movies or 2 Halloween movies when I was born.
3 by then.
3. There were 3 Halloween movies by the time I was born. By the time I was watching horror films, there was 6 Halloween movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? By the time I'd watched a Halloween movie, there were 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I got into watching horror movies and becoming a fan,
mm-hmm.
there was 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So every Halloween film I'd ever seen, up until the point of seeing Season of the Witch, had Michael Myers in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are some smart asses out there who would say, but actually, Michael Myers is in Halloween Season of the Witch. Right? Listen, a little TV clip does not constitute as a person being in the movie. Right? So no, he ain't in it. He's not a character in it. He's on the TV. That don't count.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my very bottom.
Okay.
Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2,
mm-hmm.
is my number 12. It's not a bad film. And I like the fact that it takes place immediately after the events of John Carpenter's Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
But watching it, and I'm not someone who's a whole big complainer about special effects or CGIs or anything like that. I don't really care if a film is... You can have a badly shot film and be a good film.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just, like, Michael went from a somewhat strong guy to a friggin' demon.
Yeah, the supernatural almost element, yeah.
The shift was too quick for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The whole introduction of the brother-sister relationship. I mean, look, I've read enough and seen enough interviews and seen enough backstage making of materials to know and remember that John Carpenter was high as a kite when he wrote Halloween 2. Right? When he gave them the idea to write and all of that for Halloween 2, that man was higher than Stephen King when he was doing Pet Sematary. Right? So I'm like, you probably you would have pulled something out of the bag if you were sober. So I'm sorry, it's got to sit there.
Okay.
11th spot goes to Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Okay.
Because, again, I can deal with a cheaply made movie or a poorly shot movie as long as you invest me with a storyline. But the whole swinging a lead pipe and Michael's bleeding green blood, nah, I wasn't with that.
Oh, I don't even remember that. Oh, yeah.
And the whole, like, even though it was a good idea, the whole when Paul Rudd is going to hand him the baby and then it's revealed to be like 6 syringes with the lime green fluid in it.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, oh, you know, it was unfortunately, it was a moment where I was like, I'm not going to trash you because I love you as a character.
Mm.
But, you know, that movie for me, those 3 movies that I've listed them, they are for me what happens when you're a football fan and your team signs a player that you know you don't like.
Okay.
You have to support them because it's your team.
Yeah.
But you know if he gets injured and he's missing for the next couple of games, you ain't upset.
You're good. Yeah. All right, I see. God,
So that,
like I said, I haven't seen these movies in so long, and now you said that, like, these images are flooding back, and it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So number 10
Mhm.
is Halloween Resurrection.
Okay.
Now, it survives for two reasons.
Mhm.
One, because even though it was bullshit, the way that they had Michael Myers alive was inventive.
How did they do that? Because I couldn't remember it.
So what happens is at the end of Halloween H2O, Michael, he's thrown off the balcony. He crashes through the table, right? I'm not describing a wrestling match. He did go off the balcony and hit through the table. But he landed and he was unconscious, and Jamie Lee Curtis Laurie Strode was going to kill him, but the security guard, LL Cool J, stops her and it's like, he's dead. He's not coming back. He's dead. And she drags him out of the room. The next time we see him, he's in the body bag on the hospital gurney getting shoved into the van. And that's when she's like, she gets the axe, climbs into the van, and she's like, she takes him and she drives off with him. And then he wakes up, he gets out of the bag, and she immediately jumps out of the van. Or like when he tries to grab her, she jumps out of the van, he flies out, everything's tumbling, and then he gets wedged between a tree branch and the van. And he's facing her, and he's like reaching for her and stuff. And he's like, initially he tries to grab the mask, and then he puts his hand down, and then he's looking around, and she's like, Michael, and he looks at her, and he just starts reaching for her, and then she's about to touch his hand, and she cuts his head off. All of that, which is the end of Halloween H2O, find out that in between LL Cool J dragging her out of the room and the ambulance coming in the room and zipping him up, one of the first ambulance workers to come in, and they're all wearing basically the blue boiler suits that Michael wears. What Michael does is Michael wakes up when the guy's looking over him. He basically breaks the guy's jaw so he can't talk, and then puts his outfit on the guy.
Right, okay.
And knocks him out. So the guy's just out cold. So when the guy wakes up, he's completely discombobulated. He wakes up in a body bag. He gets himself out. He reaches for Laurie Strode because that's the only human he can see. Then he winds up, wedged between a tree and a van. He doesn't speak because he's got his jaws broken. He can't talk. He tries to take off the mask, but for some reason he can't. So when he's reaching for her and she cuts his head off with the axe, it's not Michael Myers.
Okay.
And that leads into the beginning of Halloween Resurrection, where Laurie Strode is in a mental institution because she finds out she didn't kill Michael. She killed a hospital, this EMT. And Michael comes for her at the hospital, and she has an opportunity to kill him, but she has a flashback thinking, the last time I did this, it wasn't you. So she tries to remove the mask, and Michael grabs her and throws her off a building, and then that's how she dies.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I remember he kills her at the beginning of that movie.
Yeah. So that, like I said, even though it's bullshit, is inventive. It's inventive, and I like it.
Okay, fair enough.
The second reason is because as corny as it is, Busta Rhymes doing martial arts against Michael Myers is a thing of beauty, and it should be revered. It is submitted. Academy, this is my submission for C. Gotta be it, right? Versus Busta Rhymes. Oh, gosh, I loved it. Right? Other than that, the film it was not a film I enjoyed.
Okay, cool. What's up next?
So after that, number 9 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Okay, cool.
And whilst I know some people may be like, oh, that should be way lower, I liked the fact that the entire Halloween 2, the movie, was condensed into a dream sequence for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I found that to be very inventive. And then immediately she wakes up and it goes into its own thing. I liked the fact that it wasn't a complete rehash of Halloween 2. It went in its own direction. And it showed you, well, this is the effect on Laurie. Because up until that moment, the only effect on Laurie we had was she fakes her death and she runs into hiding.
Yeah.
Right. So I like the fact that they, and it was Loomis writing a tell-all novel was the reason she found out that she was Michael's sister. And the fact that they put her in Halloween 1. In Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, you actually see her because it connects the threads in a way that you can see them. And I'm at peace with that.
All right.
Right? Now, number 8 and number 7 are respectively The Revenge of Michael Myers and The Return of Michael Myers.
Okay.
Because those two, they were the aliens to Halloween's Alien. It was, this is where we're just going for this, swinging for the fences. Michael's now, slashes are a big thing by the time these films come out. You got to remember, people, when Halloween came out in 1978, there was no slashers. There was Anthony Perkins, from Psycho. There was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there was Michael Myers. That was it. There was no slashers. They weren't a thing. They didn't come back every year to hunt down teenage girls. It was just, well, these three killers existed.
Yeah.
Right? And by the time we got to Halloween 4 and 5, I mean, if I could, I would just literally rank them together as one ranking film because they're basically like they're like Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. Return and Revenge are like Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the same part of the story.
Okay.
So I give them that, but that is 8 and 7 because I like them. There's nothing stand out about them other than the gnarly scar that they gave to Loomis. That was beautiful. Right? So that was cool. Number 6 is Halloween Ends.
Okay.
Right. I know earlier I said it's in the bottom half, but as we were talking about things and moving things and like breaking down the film, I was like, nah, this thing's got to go up. It's not a terrible film, but it's a terrible ending. It's a brilliant film if positioned in between 2018's Halloween and Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
However, viewed as the final installment, the last time we will perhaps see this iteration of Michael Myers, it's a bad ending. So it sits at number 6 because it could be so much more. Number 5 is Halloween Kills. That movie was brilliant. I know a lot of people hated it. I don't care. You hated it. Good for you. I loved it. Right? I say, so Halloween Kills was amazing. It was absolutely beautiful. I might have to watch that again this year in the Halloween run. It might have to happen again. But I loved Halloween Kills. Number 4, is Rob Zombie's Halloween. I know a lot of people don't like that film, but for me, as a fan of the character of Michael Myers, look, sometimes you can do reboots right. And it must always be pointed out there is a difference between a reboot and a reimagining. Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann one, it's not a remake of Romeo and Juliet. It's a reimagining.
That's
We're
right.
going to stick you here, and let's see what happens when we change this and this. Chef's kiss. Rob Zombie's Halloween is what happens if it happens today, and today being at the time the film was released. And now you have a Michael Myers that grows up, that's a teenager or an early kid in the 70s. So he grows up with, and you think he grows up and he doesn't grow up with this. We know basically nothing about Michael Myers in John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yep.
We know a hell of a lot about Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. We know his family life. We know what his mom does for a living. We know what he gets bullied in school. We know he doesn't really take too much shit from people, but he's a loner. He's by himself. He doesn't really have friends. All of these things help build. And I'm sorry, anybody who's like, Rob Zombie's Halloween is trash, if you like the Joker, but you don't like Rob Zombie's Halloween, you, sir, or madam, or they, binary, but you are a liar. Absolute liar. Because those two movies are so in level with each other, because there's what happens when society shits on someone for so long and then they strike back. Michael gets shitted on from birth to when he finally snaps and he's there killing cats and whatnots, and then he gets to the point where he's like, you know what? I'm not having none of this BS no more. And he bosses up the bully, right? Then at that moment, he's an anti-hero because he beat the crap out of a school bully. Yeah, okay, he killed him, but hey, he's a bully. Don't feel bad. It's only when he gets home and he decides to take out one, his other bully, and then two, the sister and the boyfriend. It's only when he kills them, that's when he's like, okay, now you're psycho. And also, it's got Danny Trejo in it. There's magic to this movie. So yeah, right?
Does it not? Obviously, like we've spoken about some characters, you don't want to know their origin story because as much as you're trying to give the backstory to the character to tell you how he got there, it's irrelevant how he got there to what he's doing today because he's not the character that I'm supposed to root for. You may enjoy the kills, but ultimately he's not the one that's supposed to win. So what you're doing is humanizing the character to maybe sympathize with him. And it's like, why do we need that? Why do you want to sympathize? Why do you want to humanize this character for you to, throughout the movie, supposedly just change your mind about him and say, nah, he's supposed to be the bad guy. He's killing people. That's not right. When he's like, well, actually, no, he's had a tough upbringing. So, all psychos are a product of society. So what, where's bad is just bad. Where is the evil? So I understand obviously why they've gone in that different direction. But for me, I don't want to try and sympathize with the character or have that reasoning why he's doing it.
No, I agree. But I say the thing with the Rob Zombie Halloween is Michael's never someone that you should truly sympathize with. He kills pets. He kills small animals. So we know he's not a great person. It's just that the first couple of kills are people who are equally pieces of shit. The school bully's a piece of shit. The stepdad's a piece of shit. So the first two people you see murdered, they are equally, if not worse, pieces of shit than Michael is. Because one, both of them are older than he is, and both of them bully him and antagonize him. So to my outlook on it, my looking at it, I see it from the point of view of he kills the people who deserve killing. I use the word deserve loosely, but he kills the people who deserve to die in the film. But then killing gets too easy for him, and he just continues to kill. And then that's when he's just like, fuck this. I'm just going to kill everybody. Right.
All right. Cool.
So,
all right. Yeah. What have you got next?
That. So we enter the final three. Third place goes to Halloween H2O. Because that movie's beautiful. And the thing is, in a weird way, as much as I love Michael Myers and I fundamentally wouldn't be as big a horror movie fan as I am if not for Michael Myers. I think if they went the route that they had planned to on doing the anthologies, if you had Halloween and you had Halloween 2, and then you had Season of the Witch, and if they went in a completely different direction and it's just every every year was a new Halloween movie, or every 2 years was a new Halloween movie, and it was focused on a completely different thing. If when 1998 rolled around and they made Halloween H2O, 20 years later, I think that movie would probably have been hailed as one of the greatest horror movies ever. Because then you would have had essentially what could be summed up as 20 years of other characters, other people, this ghost story, this haunted mansion, this lunatic, this, zombie creature. And then 20 years later, the anniversary, we bring it back to the one who started it all. Then it would have been something bigger. It would have been like, the return of, imagine it's like the return of, I don't know, like a professional wrestler after they retired it would have been the return of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, or Edge.
Retired back in the 90s. Yes, it would have been a return of Edge. He retired. He's not in it no more. And then Royal Rumble clock goes down and bang. Right? It would have been it would have been great. So yeah, that's number 3. Number 2 is Halloween 2018.
Okay.
I mean, I don't need to say anything about it. Just, if you've seen it, you know. And number 1, Halloween 1978. And to clarify something you said earlier, Ken, the reason why 1978 and 2018 are both just called Halloween is because 1978 is actually John Carpenter's Halloween.
So you're saying, right, okay.
So it's John Carpenter's Halloween, then it's Halloween, then it's Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. We'll compare this, but I think there's a clear winner for both of us. Sacha, just coming to you first. In terms of Halloween Ends, what score did you give Halloween Ends on its own?
I'll give it a 2.
2 out of 5? 2 out of 5, not 2 out of 10, yeah?
No, not out of 10.
Yeah, okay. Not like me.
Why are you trying to disrespect my film, Ken?
The showdown was great. The performances were good. The guy, even though the pointless character guy who became like the lead, he was
Corey was good, just to the wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, totally. It's just, I was just disappointed considering where they left off. I thought we'd get some more Michael, straight up.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that. But, I might feel differently if I on a rewatch, but I don't know. I haven't seen half as many of these movies. I haven't seen the later of the original run. So all that stuff that Neil said was kind of new to me. To be fair, I think Halloween Ends is probably up there with Rob Zombie's 2 films. Trash. Won't watch it again. Whereas Halloween Kills and even though it wasn't as good as the first Halloweens, I still got some enjoyment out of it, and it had some joke in there, and I quite liked it. I've seen it twice, and it's a lot better on the second viewing. So, so I do like that one. But I like, for me, top tier is Halloween original John Carpenter 1, Halloween 2018, Halloween 2. I actually didn't mind, to be fair, of the original run. And, I didn't really like number 3, and that's kind of where I stopped off. And, yeah, I've kind of said it all now. I've kind of...
Fair enough. I mean, I think what's kind of clear is that John Carpenter's Halloween 1978 and Halloween 2018, they're top tier. And I think that's kind of clear. Then you've kind of got a little bit of a muddle in the middle in terms of, H2O. So, we've got it ranked 3 overall between myself and Neil. I think the big variance actually is Halloween 2, 1981. because I had ranked that quite high, where it was very much near the bottom of Neil's list. And then Halloween 2, the 2009, I think I had it as my worst one. But then Neil is gone, not mid tier, but towards the end, at the end. But I think Halloween Resurrection, we're very similar on there. Like I said, I was basing my ratings on watching these films probably once. And so definitely in terms of Halloween 3 to 6, those I probably only watched once. Do you know what I mean? And so, a lot of those kind of merged together when I was thinking about them, kind of thing. I was trying to place which is which. But once I've kind of reread them, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I was trying to do that because I wasn't going to be able to sit down and rewatch all of these. But okay, so what do we think is next for Halloween? Just, we might do a separate podcast on this, but what do you think is next for it? Do we give it a break? Do we do a complete reboot? What do we do? Retirement. Interesting.
Retirement. Treat it like The Godfather. Look, we've had the definitive ending. Cut. Done. Fade to black. Because anything else we do is going to sully the memory. And the thing is, we're on a tightrope. We're on teetering. We're on thin ice as it is, because initially we had Halloween H2O, which was a definitive ending, and it was a brilliant film. And it was like, cool, we're done. Then they did Halloween Resurrections because it was like, the cash cow, because Halloween H2O was so awesome. Then we had Rob Zombie's Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And they were reimaginings. So it's like you looked at them, they sit in their own corner of the shelf.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't have to have watched any of the other Halloween films. You can
you can take them or leave them.
Yeah. Then, it was like the David Allen Greer and or David Allen Green, sorry, and Danny McBride were like, no. We have we have an idea for a Halloween movie that will be an absolute killer, and it discredits everything except the original movie. And I think a lot of people forget that this was roughly around the same time that, there was conversations about Neil Blomkamp making his version of his Alien 3 movie, where it was set directly after Aliens and discounted everything else. And, we had a couple, a decade before, we had Superman Returns, which is set after Superman 2 and doesn't really, worry about anything else. And it was like, we had a trend of this movie is going to start here and discredit everything else. You also had Terminator Salvation. I think it was that. He's like, oh, yeah, everything after this doesn't matter. But when you do that, everything gets muddled again, because you had that Halloween movie. You could have ended it there and it would have been perfect. But then we had Halloween Kills, which I love, but was unnecessary. And then Halloween Ends. But when they did Halloween, when they said, we're doing Halloween Kills, they said, we're doing Halloween Kills and we're doing Halloween Ends. 2 movies. Here you go. So I was like, okay, cool. You're doing these 2 movies and Halloween Ends is going to be the end. There's no way after Halloween Ends to bring back Michael Myers unless it's a brand new iteration of the character. And I'm sorry, I disrespect no one when I say this. No one is good enough to remake Michael Myers.
Bold. I agree. I think anything with the existing timeline would be pointless. You can't keep using this Laurie character and keep bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis. She's done. She's paid her dues to this franchise. You need to give it a few years and then do it completely different. Whether you call him Michael Myers or whether he goes back to like The Shape or something like that. Don't have the Laurie character. Just set it it's going to be the same trends in terms of guy killing people, slasher film, but just take it away. But I think when you have a character as iconic with the mask that they have, they'll always kind of be around. But, saying that, when was the last time we had a Freddy Krueger movie?
They've been trying.
Yeah, I know they've been trying. Scream, I thought the last Scream installment was really good, and the way they've managed to continue that. But, some things, like you say, you need to let lie. So anything else now, I think, needs to be a complete restart and ignore the Laurie characters. So you don't keep having that the same threads and different storylines and threads and kind of get confusing. Just completely change it out. Sash, what do you think?
I'd say just do fucking Halloween Ends, man. That's what I'd say. I'd redo Halloween Ends, and I'd do it in a way where you could somehow spin it off into something else, if that makes sense. So you leave a little thing, maybe. I don't know what that thing would be. Maybe Neil could think of something that's creative or whatever. But I like the idea that it was all set in one night. So, you know what I mean? I don't know what changed it up. But
yeah, Neil and I said we might sit down and actually edit Kills and Ends together to try and create a different movie or two movies and just chop and change it and do a director's cut. So we might have a little look at that. But I do like, because I think if you make it, we can make it the continuous night by putting the Corey stuff first, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So then you can have it as a continuous one night thing. He kills a daughter and it kind of goes on. So we'll see what we can splice together. But cool. Right. That's it for this episode. We talked a lot about Halloween today. So, but look, sound off in the comments. Let us know how right or wrong we got those rankings. What's your favorite Halloween movie? Which is for some of you, not the worst, just the lesser of the 13. I know this is a very protected franchise and I appreciate that. A lot of dedicated horror fans out there. I've learned my lesson.
People, I'm sure that, at the end of this episode, whether you're watching it or listening to it, Ken will put my social media at the bottom. Don't come for me like you did, Ken. I am petty. I will reply to you all, and I will be mean. And chances are, I know more about Halloween than you do.
Yes, so I didn't come from the knowledge, and I'm too nice. I'm a nice guy. What can I say? I'm just like I'm trying to appease all these people. It's like, no, you're just being a dick. You're just being a dick. All right, cool. Thanks very much, guys. Anything else you guys want to talk about while we're here? All good? Right. Thanks very much for joining me today, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for you guys listening and watching. Really appreciate it. Please support our podcast by, making sure you've clicked like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you follow us and on any of our other podcast platforms. We really appreciate it. We are available on iTunes, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere you can get podcasts, we are there. That's it for this episode. And so until next time, happy Halloween.
Peace.